Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Wired Differently. This week, we are helping you figure out how to cultivate irresistible connections to draw in dream clients. You've got me, Christina Blue Hooper, your business designer, Victoria Caldwell, your fractional COO and people systems expert, and Mindset Melanie Branch, helping you get your brain in order so that you can do the things you need to do to live your dream life. All right, welcome, everybody. Hi.
Hey.
All
Hello.
right. Let's talk cultivating irresistible
Oh, is my
connections
internet
to
not
drawing dream
hanging?
clients. Well, at least you always manage to get frozen on like smiles and like good things. Like anytime I get frozen, I get like the Franken face, you know? Like I cannot.
It's storming, so we're gonna rock with it and see what happens.
It's actually sunny.
It's literally like I was live on TikTok a minute ago, and every time I would say something, oh God, there would be like thunder right after it. So it sounded like everything I said was really major, and it's not.
Oh man, that's awesome. Yeah, it was so windy and stormy here. It was like knocking over trash cans and all kinds of stuff, and it finally got sunny. So I'm going to take it. Good lighting, good energy for a middle of the week hump day, slump day, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
So I will take it. All right. So when we're talking about like irresistible connections to draw in dream clients, we're talking about anything in the realm of like marketing, sales, like finding the right people, doing the things. We all kind of come at it from slightly different ways, again, as usual. I'm coming at it from the business design perspective. So, like, what is the plan, right? Like, how are we actually going to find those clients? How are we bringing them in? How are we? Melanie's internet didn't hang. Awesome. That's why it's great having multiple people. So when that happens, you're okay, right? Which is one of the strategies you can use for business design is having partners, is having other people that you do stuff with. Like this, what we're doing with the live show. This is a collaboration proposal or a co-marketing agreement, those kind of things. So when stuff happens, you have other people that are helping lift you up, and it is amazing.
Yes.
Then from the people side, I know, Victoria, you're dealing with how do you get your team on board with this? How do you get your team to support you? Because it's a lot of work as an entrepreneur, right? You've got a million hats to wear and you've got a ton of things to do. And one of the first things that most people end up getting help with is something in the realm of marketing and sales. Like an assistant to help you with your social post, to help you answering your DMs or your comments on your social post, or helping you edit videos from a podcast. Or it's one of the first things a lot of people tend to get some help with, usually, because there's a lot of moving parts. Yeah. And Melanie's kind of coming at it more from the how do you get your brain to let you do all these things, right? Because lots of stuff comes up. So
lately it's really been how do you fuel yourself on those low energy days or on those high energy days so you can get the most out of them? Because today with this thunderstorm, when I'm done here with you guys, I'm couching it, just so everybody knows. But that doesn't mean that I can't work. There's a lot of work that I can do from my phone, making connections with dream clients. Hello, Instagram DMs, everybody. So, it's a perfect day for this conversation.
Yeah, so let's let you dive into it to kick us off today on this one, because there is so much you have to do, right? So it's like when you're doing marketing and stuff, it can be cold outreach to potential clients. It can be interviewing people for podcasts, finding podcast guests, showing up as a podcast guest, and like being brave enough to do like I did, message the host of a top 1% podcast and be like, me, and I'm being interviewed on Friday, right? So like there's a lot of really uncomfortable action. There's a lot of consistency challenges. It's not boofy dogs. Sorry, real life over here. But yeah, there's a lot of consistency challenges if you can't post content consistently, if you can't email your list consistently, if you're not showing up on podcasts consistently. So I mean, we've got consistency challenges. We've got, you don't call it comfort zone. What do you call it? Familiar zone?
Familiar zone. Well, and you also just have, the fear of imposter syndrome. Am I good enough to be doing this? I have a client dealing with that right now. She's going through her own, spiritual awakening, understanding moment, whatever it is. We all have these ups and downs in life. And as long as 10% more about the topic than the person that you're teaching it to, you're good to go. Don't feel like you don't know enough. I promise you know enough. And we just lead by example.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think, like, what can somebody do to be more consistent, right? Because we know consistency is a problem. How is somebody going to get out of their own way to be consistent on social?
Understand that consistency doesn't mean 100% every single day. Consistency means, what am I capable of doing today? I have a rule with myself where I do one piece of marketing every day, and I always go to bed without makeup on my face. So those are the non-negotiables. Everything around those is variable, but those two things have to happen. So whether it's an email, whether it's a social post, whether I really like to go on Instagram stories and poll people, and whoever answers the poll is now a warm lead. So, hey guys, if you follow me on Instagram, you know one of my strategies, but I do actually want to know more about you, but I do want you to answer in case I can sell you my services, because wilds are on the internet. But like, just knowing that there's a graphic floating around the internet of like 7 glasses, and they're all each filled up to different amounts. And that's what consistency is. It's not 100% every day.
Yeah,
That's true.
Yeah, that is true. And what about like uncomfortable action? You have to be able to take uncomfortable action. If you're not comfortable on video, you're probably going to be making videos. You might not be comfortable being interviewed.
I just get competitive, and I say, if I don't do it, somebody who's less qualified than me is going to go out there and get the clients that I want. So, you know, I can do this. Why not me? That's what puts me out there. I'm like, wait, why can't I do this? Who told me I can't do this? Let's go ahead and just prove them wrong. Let's prove myself wrong. Let's prove everybody wrong. So I really pull on those pinch motivators that we talk about all the time: play, interest, novelty, competition, and haste. Make it one of those things. You'll get it done.
Yeah. And I know one of the things that, you know, I teach people to do is to start with some version of like seed content that you're comfortable with. Right.
Yeah.
Because like, if you've got like, I'm really comfortable with written content, you're really comfortable making videos. If you hate making videos and you're trying to figure out what to talk about at the same time you're figuring out how to make the video, it's doubly complicated. If I start with a blog article or a written social post or something first, and then I turn that into a video, now I'm not trying to battle 2 different tasks of what do I even talk about and making the video at the same time. So like, that's been a huge one for me, is like, how do we separate that? It's one of the things I teach people when they're going through and they're doing their blueprint and they're designing their business and the courses in the academy, is to figure out what you're like comfortable doing and start with that, and then create the repurpose strategy. And that's great low energy stuff too sometimes, because it's like all the brain power went into what to say, into producing the original piece of content. And then on a low energy day, you can come back behind and go grab all of your content and repurpose it into something else pretty easy.
Yeah.
So especially like if you like starting with video or something like that, it's pretty easy to just sit there and like use AI and get it to take your transcripts and turn them into like written content. And it's still your voice, it's your tone. You can tell it's like analyze the tone from the transcript and use it, things along those lines. So lots of cool strategies that you can use to do that. Let's see. I'm going to queue up the next question. We're going to queue up Victoria here. So like team challenges with marketing and sales. Boom, 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 boom. Boop. All right. Calling on Victoria. Wah, wah.
You know, one of the things that really comes up when it comes to is not burning out the team. Sometimes as leaders, well, not sometimes, oftentimes as leaders, especially creators, you get so focused on drawing in these clients that you forget that your team, they're human and they have limitations and they need self-care and they need time and they need, you know, leaders can sometimes push and push and push and push and burn out the team. And when the team is burnt out, how is that with the client experience? You know, so you might draw them in and move them right on out, because now either they're just frustrated, they're not delivering at the level that they can because they're so busy trying to, either they're afraid they're gonna fail, or sometimes they're not delivering that client experience. So you might draw them in, but you might not keep them. And not only that, you might not keep them and you won't keep the team members either if they're great. If they're not, then you don't want them. But so it's important to realize that from a leadership perspective, you also have to market to your team. You market to your team, and you market to even get the team members on board. Like any job description, and I'm going a little bit left, but even the job descriptions should be written like a sales letter.
Yeah.
But you need to deliver on that as well, because you want the best talent. But the best talent is not going to let you just run all over them.
Yeah.
So you have to realize that these are representatives of you in front of the clients as well. And you want to make sure that they're taken care of and they're not burnt out and overwhelmed. And that just reduces their productivity and their performance. And then you got a major problem.
I like that little nugget. A job description is a sales letter. I think
Yeah.
we think that it's like, oh, I have this amazing job at this amazing company and anybody should be lucky to work here. But that's not the case most of the time. Most of the time they have lots of different
And
choices.
it's very
You're one of them.
self-centered.
Yeah.
It's very self-centered, and that's the way you approach the leadership sometimes. It's about me, but no, top talent, and I say it all the time, they have choices.
Yeah.
So they're not looking for, they're looking at it, why should I choose this company? And you have to be able to tell them, why should you work for us? Why should you work with us? This is how we're going to take care of you and make sure, because they can just go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And if they know their value,
Yeah.
if they know their value, they either ain't coming or they're not staying.
Yeah. Well,
So
I mean,
if
a
you
lot of
make
us
that
want to
sales
hire
pitch
somebody
so
who
good.
likes a challenge, but like somebody who likes a challenge wants to be challenged constantly. They're going to want to level up. They're going to want to do better. They're not going to like get into a position, get happy there, and then waste away on the vine. They're going to be constantly trying to level up.
Yes.
And that they can level up inside of your company for a while, but eventually they're going to exit out. And you've got to be okay with that. You have to be okay with nurturing, growing, and creating top talent. And they will train the person coming next a lot of times if you do a good job.
Leaders. And that's the loyalty in it, because they're going to take care of you. And they might bring in the next, they'll train the next, as you said. That loyalty is so important, because they're going to be able to see things. And again, I know we're talking about marketing and sales, but marketing to your team is extremely, like, no one thinks about that. It's like, you market to the team to get the best. You want the best clients. You want the best team. You want to keep the clients. You want to keep your team. It's really something to really, it's a paradigm shift.
Yeah. You can't think of it as awkward either. You can't think of selling yourself as an awkward thing. Your personal brand is very important, especially when you are a service-based business owner. So every piece of content that you're putting out there is reflective of you. We were actually talking about this the other day, about like when you think about somebody's personal brand, because I had a client graduate my 6-month program, and in her testimonial, she said, I found this pink and purple haired, loud mouth, cussing, tattooed coach, and I knew she was right for me. And I went, well, I mean, she's not wrong. So then I started thinking about personal brand, and the things that you would assume about me, I do a very good job of showing you, right? Like which way I lean politically, what I feel about what's going on in the Middle East, right? Like there's some things that are very clear about me just because of the way I present, but then there's things that you wouldn't know. Would you know that I've been married for 18 years to a guy that's in the Navy? Would you know that I have teenage kids? No, you wouldn't know that stuff automatically about me because of the branding that I've done. So it's, when you're intentional about your sales and your marketing and you are authentic AF, you can just go out there and make your favorite kind of content, whether it's a blog post or a social media video or anything like that. And you can just knock it out like this because people know what they're getting when you come across their screen, and you know what you're talking about every time you hit record.
And I love the word you brought up, and it's one of my favorite, and it's one of my values, authenticity.
Yes.
I mean, just be authentic.
Yeah.
You know, we're out there, so many are out there trying to be something else. Oh, we're this, and no, you're not.
They're not.
No, you're not. And now there's a lack of trust, because now people can see right through it.
Yeah.
Just be authentic.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
we tell
especially
students
if you start like Oh, but so as you start like delegating to your team, if you're not authentic with your team, if you haven't set your boundaries for what you will share, what you don't share, what your brand image is, they can't help you, right?
Yeah.
So it's like that's one of the questions I put up on the screen is like top mistakes of like delegating marketing and sales, and that's one of them. You don't know who you are. How is your team supposed to? How is anybody supposed to help you with that? You
Yeah.
cannot completely delegate out all of your content creation. Can you
Yeah.
hire someone to write blogs for you? Of course. Can they train AI in your voice now? Yeah. Can you get people to make videos like deep fakes of like you with your voice and your yes, but should you? You know, like I don't think so. I think you need to be present and you can use your team to repurpose your content,
Yeah.
but the original source of it has to be you in some way, shape, form, or fashion. You're because all they're going to do is put the facts. They're not going to put your opinions.
Yeah. And it draws in those dream clients because they're going to, you set the stage as a leader, you set the stage for the company. That's internally and externally. So if your team is consistently and your team is like off, you have to look at your leadership. You just do. Now that's another whole topic for another day. But
well,
even
knowing what you're good at, right? I have a client dealing with this right now. She hired somebody to do social media for her. They're incredible at graphics. Incredible at graphics. She's got these graphics and I'm looking at them like, those are great. She's like, I know. But the text and the captions are crap. And I said, why don't you just keep them for the graphics and you do the captions and you got an incredible deal here. It's like $160 a month she's paying. And these graphics were out of this world. I never would have thought to put all those things together ever, ever, ever. So it's important to recognize where you shine and where other people shine, right? Because you don't have to outsource all of it. I like making videos for TikTok. I'm probably always going to do that no matter how big my team gets. But other people don't ever want to even be on social media. So they're looking for creators that can do it for them as soon as possible. You really got to know what the goals are.
Yeah. And I mean, in those situations, like if you struggle to show up live like that, it's better to have a partner or a co-marketing partner or something along those lines that can show up. Like do some partnership, trade with some people and get someone else to help rep your brand, build a good affiliate program. Like there's alternatives to delegating out and letting somebody else who doesn't know you represent you instead of delegating out all your social. I think another big mistake I see too is the shiny object trap. Because like there are so many new ideas for marketing and sales and you're going to burn your team out if you keep changing your mind. Like this week we're all about consistency on LinkedIn posts and we're going to do some posts, we're going to run, and then like next week like hey y'all, we're going to run a challenge. Can y'all just like maybe schedule some stuff for all those other channels, and then like we need to get some landing pages up and we need to get this up, and like you will burn your team out if they are constantly playing whack-a-mole with your various ideas for marketing and sales.
Exactly. Like what they call it, entrepreneurial whiplash. It's like, okay, now we're over here. Oh, now we're over here. And now and you're the leader. And then you're frustrated that you're not getting results.
Yeah.
And you're frustrated with the team because they're
why
not
aren't we getting more leads from LinkedIn yet? It's like because we only posted on it for a week before you pull this over here. How was this supposed to work?
Yeah. Story of my life with my clients.
Gosh. It's hard for me with delegating stuff. It's hard for me to wrap my head around how much time it takes to do things. Even if it's something that I have done for the past 5 years, you give it to somebody and they're like, okay, it's done, right? They're like, it's literally been 5 minutes. Like, what are you even talking about? And they're like, what? Okay. Because I don't know about you. My time blindness affects a lot in my life. Like my husband and I just joke that I think everything takes 20 minutes and I don't even know how long 20 minutes is. So it's just like, if you tell me that I have this much time to get ready, I don't know. Like I don't understand how to help people through that.
Because that's one of the constraints. And I tell Christina this, that's one of the strengths of creators. They have typically, I have yet to find one, and I'm sure there's one out there, but I haven't met him yet or her. But there's absolutely no gauge when it comes to how much time, resources, energy, money, all of that, anything takes to get done. There's no gauge. And if you ask, you're going to get the most unrealistic answer.
Yeah.
because they might say 20 minutes. This thing is going to take a week. It's
well, it's like we can do something that would take most people a week in 20 minutes if we're interested in it, have a good energy day, have no distractions, and like all the stars align. We can do 30 hours of work in like an hour. Like it is ridiculous how efficient we can be. But that's not predictable. We can't count on that. And there's no way anybody else is going to replicate that because it's like our unique, combination of expertise and things we enjoy. And we build our products and services up that way too,
Just wanting to power through it and I'm going to do it. And then you take that over to the team. Well, I did it. And they were like, well, yeah you're crazy. You're insane. Yeah. Like you're unhinged to a certain degree. And that's what they're thinking. They're not saying it. But then you like kind of expect that from the team. And it's like, it's not going to happen.
I mean, it goes both ways, though. How many of us have clients that are constantly like, okay, well, I want to start a new business. Well, I want to start a new business. It's like, maybe you just want to try a new marketing thing instead of a whole new business. What are you talking about? Like, do you really want to serve a whole different customer base? Do you really want a whole new, do you really want this? Or is it just a week before your period and I need to give you a chocolate banana muffin and a hug? Not for nothing. I have PMDD and I'm in the middle of a PMDD episode right now, so I'm allowed to say this. But really, that is such a creator neurodivergent thing to do to monthly. It feels like I want to burn it down and start something else.
Yep. Well, I mean, you can't figure out how to fix it. Sometimes it's harder to it's like it would be easier to go buy a new string of Christmas lights than to untangle the one that I have to get it on the tree. Right. Like most of us would rather just throw it away.
Do you have cameras here or something? Is that what it is?
I know I am so guilty of that. And some of it's that we get bored before it starts working.
I was about to say the boredom is the killer.
Boredom is painful. People don't understand. Boredom is painful to a neurodivergent brain. The DMV, you might as well lock me up.
Yeah, it's I've seen and I build in for it now because I know it's coming. I already know it's coming. So, I mean, it took me, I've learned these things over times because all of them, it's like the same blueprint, different people, different, whatever, but there's some things that are pretty consistent and that boredom, I mean, will sink an entire, I don't care if it's making millions. If they get bored, it's going down.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's worse here in America. Like we were raised.
If you don't have the team behind you to keep it going.
Yeah. It's like we're raised on capitalism. We're raised on our value is connected to our productivity. So our joy, we think, has to come from our work, not from our life. So when you get bored in your business, instead of oh, let me go take up a new hobby, is it time to do some bonsai trees? Is it time to binge a new anime? We're oh no, I'm going to go launch a whole new business.
Yeah.
Because I need more of the stress in my life that I just solved by fixing the first business. Make another one.
I mean, we could then go into the being addicted to stress and how people find themselves thinking, okay, when I hit this milestone, I'll be happy. I can allow myself to be happy when I'm making $30,000 a month. And then they start making $40,000 a month. And they've been so stressed the whole time that they don't even notice that they hit that 30K a month and they're not celebrating shit. And they're just asking to be signed up for more stuff because the only thing that gets the go-go juice going in their brain is stress.
Yeah. Well, I think that's why so many of us, the biggest trick for time blindness is little timers, but they create stress. They create their own level of stress because this little dude is just staring at you being like, you got 5 more minutes. Are you done yet? Whoa, the whole time. Right. And so that's why I can't time block. I've tried it. I can do it. I can technically physically time block my day
at the end of the day.
Yeah, but it's all day long being it's like back in school again, where it's you got 5 minutes to complete your work, and then the bell's gonna ring, and then I just can't, it's like being constantly whipped all day long into trying to get something done, and it's stressful. It's anxiety ridden. But then on the flip side, we don't have a clock out time.
I look at it and I don't look at. I'm like, if it gets done, I'm doing good today. You're like, it has to get done in this little block of time.
Yeah.
I thought that was the most hilarious thing.
Oh man, and the flip side is that we just get lost. Like we go down a rabbit hole and we forget that we're working on something. And it's like I get started on it and then like I go look something up or like oh I think the client emailed me the thing. So I'm gonna go open my email. Oh my God, I hate that so bad. Because like as soon as you do, there goes at least 30, 45 minutes. And I was just looking for like that one nugget that they sent me in my email.
Yeah.
Or like, oh man, 2-factor authentication is killing me lately.
It's
When you go to log into something, yeah, and it's like, go check your text messages for the code or go check your email for the code. And it's like, did you really? I just needed to log in and you just cost me 45 minutes of my day. What is wrong with you?
And the emotional dysregulation. I'm sorry, but where I'm at in my cycle right now, if I had to go through that 2-factor identification right now, I would probably throw my computer across the room. Like I absolutely could not handle it right now. That's one of the main things I have been working on personally in my journey lately, because I've been getting big waves of emotion and I have to actually process it like in that moment in time. I can't put it off like my Aquarius moon wants to. And really, seriously, that is the one aspect of ADHD, especially, that they just don't talk about enough. They just don't talk about it enough. How are we supposed to be consistent every single day when I don't know what level of energy I'm going to have every day? Well, now I do because I've been tracking. But like, I mean, you've seen it in me. You know what you can even ask of me based on what's going on right now. I've even asked you before, like, where are you at in your cycle? Because I have a big project and I just want to make sure you're in the right spot for it.
The things we have to do.
Right? Seriously. But it gets better when you do that.
It's like, oh, when she goes off the rails, it's like, you know, what day is okay.
Yeah, seriously. It must be about 2 days away. I just told my husband actually this morning, I went to Publix at 8 a.m. because I really wanted a loaf of sourdough. And I literally waited at Publix for 30 minutes for the sourdough. I was so overstimulated. It was so bright. It was rainy outside. The music was so loud, but that sourdough was worth it. I'll tell you what. But I texted him. I said, the period must be 1 day away because I just waited for 30 minutes for sourdough. And he goes, I bet it's worth it. So he's a smart man.
I think that's a great segue.
I think he's learned a few things in 18 years.
I know. I know. He had.
That would be sad if he hadn't.
Yeah, it would be. You know,
he's a good dude.
I think this is a good segue into this question. Like, what policies or supports is a leader going to put in place to encourage self-care among their teams and for themselves, right? Like,
right.
That's a good one.
I think one with what policies and supports, you know, I can give some examples. For example, one is to even acknowledge the need for self-care for yourself. You know, that's number one, because that part just gets thrown out the window. So acknowledgement. And then it can get, you know, getting with the team to see what is going to support them in that. So it doesn't necessarily have to be you coming up with all the ideas. You want to get together. That's going to show that you actually care, even though if you don't know what policies to put in, because some companies end up doing meditation, or even if you don't actively make it it doesn't have to be a policy, make it available.
Yeah.
Some work-life balance stuff. Some of the things is to, and this is harder when you have like more remote teams, but if you have work that is not so time sensitive, you know, you don't have to, you know, lock them down to, oh, you have to be on your computer at this time. Get the work done.
Yeah.
Get the work done. Get it done with excellence, but get it done within the time frame it needs to be done in, and get it done with excellence. And that creates that environment, because some people are morning people. Some are going to do it at night. Some are going to do it in the middle of the day. Some are going to need some concessions to go, you know, making those concessions as flexible as possible supports that self-care and understanding and taking feedback from the team. And that creates a safe environment and makes it, when they know that if something is not working, it's safe enough to come and say, you know what, my leadership is accommodating, my leadership is caring. We might not know what to do right now, but we can come up with something that's not going to sink the company or because what a lot happens when they don't share, you don't know, they might just kind of slack off or try to get around it because they don't feel like it's safe enough to tell them, and then now you got a problem.
Yeah.
So having that open communication from the very beginning in the onboarding and getting that trust is extremely important. And then your team will help build out what's going to work. And then you can
We have a little unwritten policy, sort of, at least Christina and I do, where work stuff is on Slack and life stuff is in text. There's a little bit of like run over and whatnot, but like especially on the weekends, because she and I, we don't really do a lot on the weekends unless we've planned to have like a session where we're making copy and a website and all this sort of stuff. But for the most part, we don't really like to work on the weekends. So if I am channeling all of these ideas for the Neuro-Spicy Academy, I'll be sending her so many messages on Slack, like, but she's not obligated to look at any of them. Like, hey girl, I just got to get this out on paper, and I figure I'd just get it out to you and save a step instead of writing this all down on my phone and then sending you that. But it's like, you can let me channel this and let me have all this out. And I know that like, we don't have to hop on it right now. And I just wanted you to see it and see what you think. If you're in the place for it, if you're not in the place for it, we'll talk about it later.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think that is such a big part of it. Like coming at it from the business design perspective, you design your business around humans. You know, you're a human, you're one of the humans, right? And humans have needs. We have biological needs, emotional needs, we have mental care needs, like we have needs. Yes. Your staff is also humans who also have needs. Your clients are also humans who also have needs, right? So it's like everything that I'm teaching people to do when they're designing their business is very human centric. We're not going to put policies, we're not going to put products and services into place in your business that are going to make you an unhappy human. We're not going to put things into place in your business that are going to make your staff unhappy humans, unhealthy humans. And we're not going to do that to clients either. Like we have to think about our client perspective, and they have to be happy, healthy humans. If we're expecting to pile something onto them when they're already working 80 hours a week and we're like, so you're hiring me, I need 10 more. And we're not going to have a realistic conversation about, is that even feasible? Is that something that you can do? Like that is a simple way to encourage self-care. Even with a client, is to just say like, what is your capacity like right now? How much free time do you have right now? None. Negative 20 free time. Like that's what you have is negative 20 hours of free time.
Oh, you brought up another thing as a conversation we were having yesterday. Also getting rid of energy vampires as clients for you and your team. Yeah. And you talked about a story where you had to do that and the whole team was celebrating afterwards, because you have to, when you recognize that, or even your team, you had a situation where you allowed a team member to fire a client, Christina, right? Yeah. Because you are not going to let them, they're not going to let them abuse you or abuse your team.
When you brought up something good the other day too, you were talking about how a lot of employees don't even know to ask for better. They don't know that better is possible. They've only ever worked for toxic leaders.
Exactly.
And so the first time they have one that actually cares, it's like, what do? I don't know how to respond to this. What can I ask for? Is this too much? Is this okay? Yeah. Right. They're not even used to it. Like when I let that employee fire a client for the first time, I mean, I was like, yeah, go ahead and fire him. And to me, that was just like nothing. She was telling me what had happened. The client had already been warned. I'm like, yeah, go ahead and let him go. And she just kind of sat there for a minute. And she's like, I can fire them?
Yeah.
That's okay. And I'm like, yeah, dude, the way they just talked to you, I've already told them no. Do you want me to take care of it? Or do you want to let them go? Like, no, I'll do it. But like the disbelief that this was even possible. And then like my team worked for that other big client that you were talking about, that other story. We worked for them for a couple of years. And I mean, it was a lot of money. Like 6-figure money over like 2-3 years. I don't even remember exactly. It was horrible. It took over the entire business. It's like taking your entire business is moving the right direction. You take that one client and now we detoured the entire business for like 2 or 3 years on this one client. And then when I finally just walked away, we didn't finish the project. It was just going so sideways. And nobody, like it was 2 partners and they couldn't agree and the clients were not agreeing. And it was such a nightmare. And I finally let them go. We literally went to the store and got ice cream. We partied. I don't think we did any work the rest of that day in the office. I mean, we had a good time. Like you felt the mood. It was like we were talking about this client, working on this client. We came together as a team to decide, like, look, this is going to be rough if we let go of this client. I don't know how we're replacing that income yet, but they were like, do it.
Yeah.
Like, we'll figure it out. Like, we'll go do whatever you need us to go do. We'll do it. But like, not that. If you let that client go, anything else.
Yeah.
Energetically speaking, let's get a little woo-woo here. You cannot accept new dream clients if your roster is full of energy vampire clients, because the signal that you're sending to the universe is that you're stressed and you can't handle anymore, and you only want hard clients because this is how you're doing it and this is the cycle that you're stuck in. So when you let go of all of them without knowing what's replacing it, and you can breathe for a second and you can go out for ice cream and laugh and get back on a wavelength where you're like, oh, I remember why I started my business. I remember the kind of days that I wanted to have. Then you start sending that signal to the universe that you're ready for the good clients, and they just start showing up. Like, it is you. If you need some new clients in your life, go clean your bathrooms and your kitchen and then post something on social media and watch what happens, because you have to make energetic space for the dream clients. You got to let go of the vampires. Ugh,
You got to let go.
worst.
Well, I mean, it makes sense. So it's like, even if you're in more of the woo adjacent space like I am, instead of more like the woo like Melanie is, we all have experienced this feeling of walking into a room and we can instantly tell that the vibe is off.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh,
Like, there's stuff we're picking up on. Science is saying that we can detect cortisol in the air. Some people are like, well, you're reading the energy of the room. Doesn't matter what it is. We've all experienced that feeling, and I think we pick up on it. Like, even when we're not in a physical room with somebody, like, we're in 3 different rooms right now. We're not near each other, but we can tell. Like, you can tell what our energy is if you're watching this right now. Like, you can tell the kind of mood we're coming into the room with and what we're having fun with, and you can tell when we talk about a stressful thing. People pick up on that. Yeah. And if you're creating that content while you're happy, then they're going to notice. Yeah. Even if it's written content, especially if it's video, but like, even in written content, your tone changes, your sentences get like shorter and choppier, and you get a little bit more adventurous with your language. And like, if I'm writing something while I'm happy and excited or passionate about the topic, there will be so many ellipses all over the place. Ellipses and em dashes. It's like the entire article is really just one long thought with just ellipses and no periods.
I just read it as fading in and fading out. I'm like, okay, she's going off on this thought. Oh, we're coming in on this one. Okay, sounds good. It works.
Well,
and I'm an audio person, so when I get on my soapbox, it's all over.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that's part of the self-care aspect too, is it's like,
and I'm
don't
like,
show up if you're not there. Like, we're talking about like self-care for clients and like for staff and for yourself. And it's like, I know even Melanie will say, reschedule a meeting. If
that just happened today. Shut up. I have a brand new client that's supposed to hear a second call. She messaged me today and said, hey, I got to reschedule. I forget why she went. And I just messaged her back and I said, you're an angel. It's rainy outside. I got to film this episode and then I'm just going to lay on my couch. Let's do it tomorrow. It always works out. It always works out. You never have to worry about rescheduling with me, because I promise you, I wanted it rescheduled too. I can manifest that shit. I don't even have to reschedule it. I just make something happen in your life. And then you're like, hey. Like,
yeah, well, I mean,
pray for me.
When people have to reschedule with me, they always like the next meeting, like, I'm so sorry, we had to but I'm like, dude, I am never going to complain.
I'm always happy because I always have so much for you to do. And it's like, yes. Yeah. And then you will do other stuff anyway. But
well, I mean, what's the one thing that every entrepreneur needs more of? Time. If you want to gift me time because you're too busy to meet with me today, I will take it. I will appreciate it. Like, I will honor the present you have given me. Like, nobody's ever going to complain that you had to cancel or reschedule, or it's better than showing up. And like that's true for your staff. Like, you know, some people I have seen ridiculous things inside of companies. Like, my mom, like, they'll do something like, my mom died yesterday and you know, I'm here at a business meeting today because it was an all hands and it was mandatory. And it's like, why
Go
are
lay
you
down.
here? Go
Go
away.
lay down.
Go. Yeah. Like, you have way better things to do. Like, I have had employees show up like that to like staff meetings and stuff after horrific things have happened. And it's like,
and that's where it comes back to having that onboarding experience where, look, you know, we're not trying to kill you here, you know. You
and a
have
lot
to
of
take
people
care
are
of
like, how
yourself.
can I differentiate my business? It's like, it's one of the biggest ways for clients and for staff. Like, hey, I actually care about who you are as a human, and I expect you to care about me as a human too.
Yeah.
If something happens to me and I can't answer your email within 24, 48 hours, I expect you to give me some grace. I will give you that back.
And you know what? If you hire the right people, they will be able to figure it out. Like if it's something, they will come up with something.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, if they don't care about you, they'll just like, well, you know.
Yeah. It's the communication too is so beneficial when you're like, listen, I don't need you to tell me the details of something like if it's a family thing you have going on that you need time off for, I don't need all the details, but I'm not going to assume that you're lying to me about why you need time off. I'm going to assume that you need time off. You're going to tell me what you are comfortable telling me. I don't need any more details than you're comfortable telling me. When do you feel up to coming back? And at what percentage of capacity can I expect you when you come back? Because there are some times where it's like, we'll expect you when we see you. Go deal with your shit, right? Your spot will be here when you come back. Touch base every once in a while, that sort of stuff. But like, take care of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you don't want them bleeding all over the rest of the staff. If there's somebody on your team that's majorly injured, emotionally, lifestyle, whatever it is that happens, they have to take care of it. Because I'm not a paramedic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it just takes more time. It takes more time because now you got to deal with all of that. And it's just like, you know what?
Yeah. I think we have to assume that people are coming with some type of toxic baggage, whether it's a client, a staff member. Like we talked about staff and employees, like they're so used to toxic leadership. They don't know what positive leadership even looks like. And clients are kind of the same way. Like they're so used to like holier than thou contractors or companies that they work with, or like I hire somebody and they just don't seem to care about me. I'm one in a million, or, you know, like they're willing to fire me. They don't care about what I am. Like they're so used to that too, that when you step in and you're like, no, I actually care about you. Like even a stupid, simple question sometimes just blows people's minds. Like if I ask, how do you prefer to be contacted? Do you like phone calls? Do you like text messages? Do you like emails? And they're like, nobody ever asked me that. They usually tell me that I have to talk to them in a Slack channel or an email channel, or like they force the client into a communication channel that's not comfortable for them, or into a communication cadence. Like, so I have, Thursday at 9 a.m. every week free for our weekly call. Is that good for you? And like, they don't normally wake up before 11.
Yeah.
And, like just little stupid, simple things like that can just make like.
Communication's really key. I had a client and I said, listen, I can meet you at 8:30 a.m., but I'm not going to have eyelashes or eyebrows on. She said, that works for me. I said, okay. So we can meet at 9 a.m. Here we go. Bing, bang, boom. But she's not getting the full package. It worked for her, though. She had great results. But, just that clear communication. This is what you can do. This is when I'm going to get the best out of you. All right, let's make it happen.
Yep. I mean, I think that's such a good thing, too, because it's like if somebody wanted to meet with me like every week at 8 a.m., no. If you want to do it like once, like, okay, cool, maybe. But like this is even 2 days in a row of me getting up and starting my day at 9. So I'm getting up at like 7 and I can feel it today. Like my eyelids are just like, huh. Because it's just not normal for me. Because we did the workshop yesterday and it started at 9 a.m. and then I had client meetings at 9 a.m. today. And I'm like, I'm not doing that 2 days in a row again.
A beast of a day.
I'm so proud of you.
Christina be, slacking in 10, 11, 12. And yesterday was I was in there, but usually I'm like, I'll get her in the morning.
Yeah. I was like, I think I did about 14 and a half hours straight yesterday. And I'm on track to do the same thing again today. So by tomorrow, we're going to be practicing some self-care. We're going to be doing some easy tasks, some low energy things. I've got a couple of out of the house errands. So I'm going to go get like sunshine and fresh air after 2 really hard days.
You have done a really good job at romanticizing the more boring parts of life. You have done a really good job doing that. Grocery store runs, Walmart runs, all that sort of stuff. Getting a little sweet treat while you're out and making things, because you really do have to romanticize your own life. Nobody's going to do it for you. It's either going to be boring and crappy or it's going to be fun and exciting, but you have to put in the effort for fun and exciting.
I started thinking about like the stuff I did when my kids were little. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, because when kids are little, we play with kids, we have fun, we do things. And somehow when we're adults without little kids, some of these things start becoming weird and stupid. And like, when did that happen? Because I had a lot more fun when the kids were small and we had just like random little in the middle of things breaks. Like you had to make the grocery store fun again. You know, you had to entertain children. Like, why am I not trying to entertain me? I am just a 40-year-old child after all. So like, this seems fun. So, I mean, we've been doing, like, I have been doing the stupidest things. It's been so much fun. Like, I play music on my phone out loud, not in headphones. Like, I just literally turn my phone on and like put the speaker on and set it in the buggy. And I'm like pushing the buggy around and I'm like dancing and like, I'll come sliding around the aisle, like literally doing like drifting around the aisle with my buggy.
And
I make
this
sure I'm
is
not
your
going to
business
anybody.
designer, folks.
Yeah.
Right.
IRL behind the scenes.
There is nothing like being in Walmart at like 10 o'clock at night with the fellow weirdos that are in Walmart at 10 o'clock at night and like drifting a buggy around the corner to like some hard rock and slamming, like we're throwing the food in that won't break and like dunking it in the buggy. And I mean, it is a good time. We grab those little protein snack boxes that are like $3 at Walmart instead of $9 at Starbucks. And we just went and sat in the parking lot on like the side of the parking lot in the grass and just me and my kid and just ate our little snackies and had a good time at the Walmart. And I mean, like, we do that for kids. Why don't we do that for ourselves? Just play.
I mean, the only way I was able to get through the grocery store with my sons when they were little was to go get them a box of popcorn chicken or chicken tenders, depending. Hello, shout out Publix. I love you. You could sponsor me. And sit them in the cart, one here, each got their chicken, and you go get as much stuff as you can till that chicken ran out, and then you're checking out, and they're drinking a orange soda that they can't even drink anymore because of the food dye. But yeah, it was everything that I have ever done has been so strategic in life that now that we've gotten to this point where we've been working on our mindset, we've been working on our business design, like Victoria says, live the life that you wanted when you started your business in the first place. That is the goal. The goal is not to work 80-hour weeks. The goal is to make a lot of money every month doing the things that you like for a little bit of time and then farting around the rest of the time. So, you know, but what you've done at the grocery store with music and drifting and whatnot, I've improved my grocery store experience by walking to the grocery store and getting a few things every other day, putting them in my backpack, bringing it home. It's like rucking. Look up rucking. It's like where you walk with a weighted thing on you, but instead of the weighted thing, I have the food. Anyways, food's very important in my life. I have a Taurus sun and a Taurus rising, but neither here nor there. And then I just do one major shop every 2 weeks at Aldi. So now it's like an adventure. Like my walks take me somewhere. I get things. I bring them home. It's a huge accomplishment. It's really helped my dopamine systems. I tell you what. And now it doesn't make the grocery store feel oppressive.
Yeah, you turned it into a quest.
Yeah, the quest.
I do enjoy going to get groceries. So I'm going to have to take some of those tips.
Music is a good one. Sunglasses really helps. One of the reasons I like Aldi so much is because you don't get decision fatigue because there's only a few things there. There's no music playing. There's no staff asking you if you need anything. You're just doing it all. If you can get yourself in the zone in a flow state in Aldi, you're in and out. You barely had to talk to anybody and you got almost everything you needed.
Yep. I mean, I've been trying to do that with just about anything. Like music is such an easy hack for almost anything. It's like music while you're cooking dinner or doing dishes, or like I'm going to start doing this one thing I've heard people talk about that like instead of the like evil timer that's like ticking down and beeping at you, they make a playlist of a desired time.
I'm so glad you saw that TikTok.
I know. I've seen it on a few of them. It keeps coming up. So I'm like, all right, universe, heard. I'm going to make some playlists. But like if you want to take a 10-minute shower, you have a 10-minute playlist. And you play the same playlist every time you take a shower. If you know that like loading, unloading the dishwasher is 15 minutes, here's a 15-minute playlist. I'm just going to clean in my kitchen, do the dishwasher, whatever, fart around, do some June bugging in the kitchen for 15 minutes. And as long as you do the same playlist every time, you start to know the order, and you start to know like, oh wait, there's only one more song after this one.
Yeah.
And so I need to wrap up, right? So it actually creates like a more engaging timer experience instead of the like
not the anxiety ridden one.
Right. Yeah. So I think I'm going to start trying that with a few things. I've been doing it with a few, like there's tons of like ADHD, like body double apps or focus Pomodoro timer apps or Pomodoro.
I like the Pomodoro.
Yeah. So those
I
are
like it. I don't know how it would work for you, but I really like it.
I like it okay, but I have to use it sparingly because again, it's like the same thing as time blocking where it's like 25 minutes, 25 minutes. Like so it does create a level of like anxiety and forced focus. Yeah. So it can be useful sparingly. Like I can probably do that about like the true Pomodoro, like the 4 sets, you know, where it's like 20 minutes, 5 minutes, 20 minutes, 5 minutes, 20 minutes, 5 minutes, 20 minutes, 15 minutes or something along those lines. Yeah, it's like you have 3 short breaks and then a long break, and then you do that's the full Pomodoro block. I can really only do that maybe about like
go off on a tangent and something. I take my pen, I write it down, and I come back to it so I don't get.
Yeah, the notebook method. The notebook method. Okay, guys, if your notebook is open, let me do it like this. If your notebook is open, you have the back page and you have the front page. This page is the business page. That's where you're writing everything organized the way you're supposed to. The back side of the page, that's the free-for-all. That's all the ideas that come to you that you're not allowed to play with yet until you get this other thing done.
Yep.
And then what's miraculous about it is your brain naturally remembers which side you wrote it on because of what kind of idea it was and which page you wrote it on, but it can't remember what it was actually about. Like, why can I write the thing down, but I still can't remember it in my brain? But whatever. We're not going to hate ourselves. We're going to accommodate ourselves.
Yeah,
write it
so
down.
We can always find it again. Like whatever we write it down, we can always find it again.
Always. You don't have to worry about that.
What it is. But yeah, it's like those type of strategies where you have to race a clock or a Pomodoro or a thing like that. I can really only use those like once or twice a day, and like a full Pomodoro block, I can only do that about 2 or 3 times a week. Yeah. Otherwise, I start to get so stressed and I don't get stuff done. The other thing I'm toying around with is just like a clock out time, like an actual time that we leave. Because like as an entrepreneur, we can leave whenever, right? We're done for the day whenever we say we're done for the day. And that allows you to kind of meander off as your energy weans down throughout the end of the day. It's so much easier to just kind of float around and you're like, oh, I thought I had 30 minutes left to work and that was 3 hours ago. What happened?
Yeah.
And you just get lost. And it's like, now you've worked 3 hours longer than you thought you did. Where like, if you had a day job, you clock out, right? If you had a regular job, you would clock out. So you know how much work you need to get done and you know how long you have to do it in. And it does create not as much anxiety towards a deadline, but some. So I'm going to start kind of testing that and see how that works. Yeah. I know one question we had is like, what are some effective self-care strategies for leaders and their teams during intense like client acquisition phases or when the business is busy? Like if you're doing a new launch, you've got more activity happening. If you're doing like intense client acquisition, you're putting out more content, you're making more phone calls, you're doing more sales calls, you're onboarding more clients at the same time. Like there's a lot of things kind of happening all at once. And like, what are some things that leaders and teams kind of need to do to take care of themselves?
You gotta know, you have to know your energy cycle so that you know what you could be working on at any point in time, especially if you're an AFAB woman, person with a uterus or person that had a uterus, whether it's been removed or you're postmenopausal. Your body is cyclical. So if you are planning, say you have a team of 5, you're the boss, and then you have 5 people that are underneath you and you're doing a big launch, right? You're launching a new group coaching session, whatever it is. You need to plan that launch around your follicular and ovulation phases when you're feeling like hot shit, you're unstoppable, and you can make 10 pieces of content a day for 2 weeks straight. There's nothing wrong with having high energy and taking advantage of the high energy. But then you got to understand, during that luteal and during your menstrual, you're doing other things for the launch, right? So maybe we're ideating the launch during that time because it's a good time to ideate during your luteal and your menstrual because you're honest about your energy levels right then.
And actually,
you're like, right now,
the way your brain is
structured,
you're actually more effective at that time.
Yeah.
That's a good one to bring up. I had forgotten about that one, especially when you're working with mixed genders and being able to plan that launch around the menstrual cycles, because
And plan a launch around when you feel your best. Like, don't tell people, oh yeah, well, I could go live 4 times today. I could go live at 8 a.m. I could go live at 8 p.m. Because I can go live at those times, but it's not my best time. And if you want me to devote this much energy that I have, make me do it effectively so I can do a really good live at the right time of day, as opposed to trying to do them all haphazardly when I'm not going to get a good result.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, looking at other things too that are happening on the calendar and things that we can predict, right? Like we talked about, I have 3 birthdays plus holidays in November in my house. So I'm not going to be launching in November. My personal life, we talked about catering to humans and being human first earlier. And it's like, I'm a human who has a lot more on my plate in November.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not going to be as like available and on. Could I launch something in November? Maybe, but like, I'm not going to do as good of a job with it in November as I would if we just waited until like February.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the planning and preparation is really key to knowing it's not, oh, let's do this and let's do it now.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, without any regards to how much time it's going to take to plan and prep.
Yeah.
For it to do, you know, without regards to how much time it's going to take to plan and prep and make sure you do it in a way that, okay, even if someone has an emergency, the last launch I did, the person that was integral to helping me got sick, and she was sick for like a month. And I
Yeah.
had to do her job and mine. And let me tell you, you know, but here's the thing. I knew how to do most of it, and what I didn't, I knew how to figure it out. So it was, but things happen. Something always happened.
Yeah.
And so if you build in that planning and preparation, knowing that something is going to happen, you can mitigate the damages a little bit, and you get to say, okay, this happened or whatever, and the team really realizes that, and it's not so overwhelming.
Yeah.
For someone, because you spent enough time prepping and planning and getting stuff done ahead of time. So
Well, and I think that one is a huge self-care strategy. Plan. Just plan. Just take a minute before you start anything and plan.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
like a
so
lot of us will have an
another-
idea and we immediately jump into it. We're like, oh, I think this might be a good little offer to create or a good little video or piece of content. And we immediately jump in.
Yeah.
And like all it would take is, in most cases, just 5 to 10 minutes of just intentionally thinking about what are we doing? Why are we doing it? What do we expect the outcome to be?
And why
Like,
do we do it now?
Yeah. Why now? Is this something that we need to do now? What can we do what potential problems can we anticipate? And what do we think we would like? We're not going to imagine every possible doomsday scenario, but like the most predictable ones that might happen.
Right.
You know, like I'm going to schedule a live workshop. What if nobody shows?
Mhm.
Right? Like that's predictable. That could happen. So like, how would we account for that? What is going to
What if my internet tanks? What?
Right. I mean, like, we don't have to overthink it. Like, there is a line, but, you know, giving yourself at least like 15, 20 minutes before you do anything, or like, especially if you're neurodivergent and you're afraid we're chasing a shiny, write it down, get it out of your head. A lot of times we're just afraid we're going to forget. Right. So that's part of why the urgency happens is like, I don't want to forget this. It's such a good idea. And if I don't do it now, or like, I don't know if it's a good idea yet. And I want to make sure it's a good idea. So I want to do a little bit of digging. Like decide what is enough for you to have gotten it out of your head.
Yeah.
It's out of your head. It is captured. It is stored. And then wait 2 days. 2 days. Because your brain's going to think on it in the background. And in 2 days, if you look at it again and you're like, I really do think this makes sense. Now we can plan a little bit more. Now we can think. And like that strategy alone has helped me with so many different things. So many shiny objects in my business. So many like, should I buy this thing? Should I get this workshop? Should I get this book? Should I, you know, whatever. Just 2 days. 2 days.
Yeah. And my strategy is when I get those, because I, you know, from my, like, oh, what about this? And what about this? And I'm like, okay, later. And a lot of times they forget. They forget.
Mhm.
The really good ones or something, then I'm like, oh yeah, that's a good one. But a good, not good now, good later. We got this to do right now. And then some of them it's like, yeah, maybe we'll look at that later. And then sometimes later never comes because you forget. And then something else comes and takes that out.
And sometimes they have to really like marinate and go from the grape to the wine. You know, sometimes you get this great idea, but you can't act on it yet. And then a few months down the road or a few years down the road, you go, oh, and it all makes sense and you can roll it out then.
Yeah.
Writing it down is so important. Write it down. If you think it's important, you don't want to forget it, write it down. Then you don't have to worry about forgetting anything and you can keep doing what you were doing.
Yeah. You're just putting future cars in the parking lot.
Yeah. Future cars in the parking lot.
It has to get out somewhere.
Yeah. And it's like, that's the biggest thing is a lot of us are just afraid we're going to forget it, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, we're just going to, like, this could be the one idea that, like, changes everything or does something. And it's like, and I'm just going to even forget that it happened. And like, if I can forget to eat, I can definitely forget to do that.
I'm thinking about making a TikTok where I green screen all of the notes that I have in my phone that I wrote down that I expected to, like, there's some days where I just write down every word that I hear that I want to remember. So the notes are real weird because I don't know what I want to use these words for, but I know that I don't want to forget them. So maybe I'll do that because it's interesting, the things that I think are important and then that they're so important they don't need a note as to why. I don't know.
Yeah, I have so many notes in so many places because it just depends on where I'm at that time or like, am I talking to somebody about it? Sometimes we need to just externally process. We need to say it out loud or we need to say it to another human. And then in the process of doing that, we're like, you know, that really wasn't that good of an, I don't know where I was going with that. Like, as I'm saying it out loud, it doesn't really make any sense. Yeah. Even though it seems so brilliant 10 minutes ago.
In your head. Yeah.
Like in my head, I'm like, oh, this is like the answer to the universe and everything. And
well, you know what I've learned too with my creators? I never, and I would never do this, at least not anymore. Say, I don't think that's a good idea. Well, no, because then everything will have to stop because now it goes from being, now it's just sure I have to prove this person wrong.
Yeah. You gotta be careful. Don't flip that switch.
Yeah. Well, I think sometimes it's not even necessarily I have to prove this person wrong. It's like, no, you must not understand if you don't think this is a good idea. Like, let me give you more. Yeah, like if you fully understood everything, of course you would agree with me. So let me give you more information. And you're like, I already said no.
Yeah.
And it's like, we're kind of violating like mental consent.
I'm thinking, I'm not thinking ideas. I'm thinking, okay, how much time, energy, resources it's going to take to get this done? And we're going to do this and we got this going on and it's going to this and that. And I come back and I'm like, yeah, not right now.
My favorite question for Christina, because she loves ideating so much. And I love to let her ideate because you want people to do what they love, right? But to keep her back on track, I go, what are you working on today? Like, what's on your list of things you got to do? Just to like help her remember, oh, hey, let me come back to the things that I was going to get accomplished today. What started this rabbit hole in the first place? And then maybe I can help you in some way. But I feel like you're going off on a trip on a little tangent here that ain't keeping us on track.
Maybe I need to like just have my like Google come up like every so often and be like, what are you working on right now?
What are you working on right now?
As soon as you get to the computer, because I'm like, I have to check in with you every single day and say, okay, what are we focusing on today?
Covert check-in.
I do have my like Google Home set up so that at different points of the day where I notice that I tend to get lost, it will just
tell me when you get lost because I start getting all these random messages.
What do you think of this? And I said, nothing. Tell me what else you were working on today.
It's like 11 o'clock.
Let me look at this list that you're supposed to be working on.
Yeah. Like, I think it's like 11 to 3:30 and like 6 or 6:30. I have it like, just tell me the time. Just tell me the time and just remind me that time is passing.
We also have our own secret language of when we send each other TikTok. So she's like, oh, I know she was up early today because Mel started sending me TikToks at 6 a.m. We're all start getting TikToks from her at 3 and I'm like, she must be on a break.
Yeah. Usually Usually, it's like, all right, I got to get up and move around. I can't sit here anymore. Or like, I'll just
It's a
realize.
language. I'm telling you, sending people TikToks or sending people reels, that's a language. That is a whole another part of your relationship that you guys have together that has nothing to do with your regular relationship.
Yeah, it's like you start to know like what kind of things they like, what kind of things they don't like, and you're like sharing the things that seem important. And yeah, 100,000%. Man, it's already been. Do you realize it's already been an hour? We've already talked for an hour. This is amazing. This is amazing. I love it, guys. All right, I'm gonna pop up our little CTA for this time. We go live every Wednesday at 11 o'clock. We would love to answer questions to help you out, move you along in your entrepreneurial journey, get you where you're trying to go faster, easier, greater chance of success. You can go to neurospicyacademy.com/show. And you'll get notified whenever we're going live. You'll get handy little reminders because you know how we like to forget things. You'll get handy little reminders and an invitation to submit questions for us to answer live. You can come and watch us answer them. You can watch the recordings. Either way, send us your questions. We're going to answer them live here on the show every Wednesday. And I am Christina. We have Victoria. And we have Melanie. And we will see you again, same place, same beautiful time next week.
Okay, bye.
Bye.